Hello everyone, welcome to session 4 of module 5, configuration management. In this session we will learn about the configuration management, different features of configuration management tools, and how configuration management is helpful in test management activities. So let's get started with understanding what is configuration management. So software configuration management is the discipline for systematically controlling the changes in software and supporting documents during SDLC. So it's a systematic way of controlling the changes in software or any related documents during SDLC. So it can be your software code, it can be the documents supporting documents like your design documents, so etc. Anything that is systematically controlled, version controlled throughout the SDLC is software configuration management. So for example, the test cases or test plan, design documents, SRS, are all these things can be configuration managed through the software configuration management. Then as per IEEE, software configuration management is the process of identifying and defining the items in the system, controlling the changes of these items throughout their life cycle, recording and reporting the status of the items and change requests, and verifying the completeness and correctness of the item. So the definition, to elaborate it a little bit, so it's controlling any changes in the items, so be it your software code or any supporting document, for example design or requirements document, throughout their life cycle, and then recording and reporting any status, any changes or change request. For example, if you're making any changes to the document, so it records those changes in the form of audit trail. If you're making any code changes, it records, the tool configuration management records any changes made in the code, and then it verifies the completeness and correctness of the item. So that is achieved through the verification or through the review process that is supported, that is available in the configuration management tool itself. So you can initiate a code review, or you can initiate a review process for any of the test cases, test plan or design documents, and see whether those documents are complete or correct, or some comments are being made which needs to be implemented in the document. So it's a kind of a disciplined approach or systematic control for different software, your code or any related document. So what are the features of software configuration management tools? Software configuration management is the process of tracking and controlling the software changes. So it tracks and controls the software changes. Then the basic features provided by any software configuration management tools are concurrency management, version control, and synchronization. These are very basic features that any software configuration management tool you can think of will provide. So concurrency management, version control, and synchronization. So very important. Many very popular and important software configuration tools available nowadays in the market are, the latest one is Git, which is used for version control for the code. Then IBM Rational Team Concert is used, IBM ClearCase, and then the previous versions are also there, popular open source version like CVS and Subversion. So these three features are provided by all the tools that are available in the market. So let's understand what these features are one by one. So what is concurrency management? So when two or more tasks are happening at the same time, it is known as a concurrent operation. So concurrent operation is when two or more things are happening at the same time. So that is known as concurrency. So concurrency in context to software configuration means that same file being edited by multiple persons at the same time. So for example, there is a class in your software code which is being modified or which is being checked out by 3 or 4 different developers, and all of them are kind of making their own changes in that piece of file, in that piece of code. So that file is being concurrently changed by multiple persons at the same time. So if concurrency is not handled properly by the tool, by software configuration management tool, that may lead to very severe problems. How it can lead to severe problems, we'll discuss in a bit. So let's take an example to explain how severe problems may arise if concurrency management is not handled properly. So we'll take an example. So suppose you have a central repository to store development resources and multiple developers are working on same features. So for example, a class is there and there are multiple developers that need access to the same class file for making their specific changes, and then they'll be checking in that class into central repository. So there is a possibility that all of the 3-4 users or different users might be checking out this file at the same time, and they will making the changes. So the scenario in this condition would be something like first developer opens the file test.java from common repository. Then at the same time, user 2 also checks out and opens the file test.java from common repository. User 1 does some changes and saves the file in common repository. He checks in the file back into the common repository. User 2 did his own changes in the Java file, test.java file, and he also checked in his changes into common repository. So in case the concurrency management is not proper, then the later changes done by user 2 or developer 2 will override any changes that are done by user 1. So in order to handle such situation, concurrency management is needed in software configuration management tools. What concurrency management is, it allows multiple users to check out the files, make their changes, and then check in the files back, and then software configuration management tool, instead of overwriting, it merges the changes. So the algorithm run in software configuration management merges the change of multiple users. So it doesn't overwrite the latter file, it just merges any changes made by user 1 and user 2. So the changes made by both the users in the file are there in the final checked in file. So that's what concurrency management is in software configuration management tools, and it is a very basic and very important feature of any software configuration management tool. The other feature is version control. That is also very important and very basic for software configuration management. So SCM tools uses archiving method or saves every change made to file. So how version control is done in software configuration management is due to the saving the changes or archiving the previous changes or a previous version of the file that is present in the software configuration management tool. So it takes a snapshot of the version that is available now in SCM, and as soon as there are changes made in the file, it creates a new version and it archives the previous version. So that's how it keeps version control in the SCM. So because of archiving or save feature, it is possible for user to roll back to previous version in case of any problem. So suppose a user made certain changes in test.java file. One developer checked it out, made some changes in test.java file. He did all those changes and checked back in, and due to his code, due to his check-in, a severe integration problem occurred because the code that he checked in broke many other things. So in order to handle such kind of situation, since all the files are version control and you have the previous working version of same test.java file, so you do not need to worry about, you can just roll back to the previous version because that's already there, and you can discard the new changes that are being done by developer in test.java file. So that's how you can do. You can roll back because of version control. You can roll back to previous version in case any mistakes or wrong coding has been done by any developer. Then the third very important feature of software configuration management tool is synchronization. So in synchronization, user is allowed to check out more than one files or entire copy of repository. So user can check out more than one file or entire repository. Then user then works on the required files and checks in the changes back to repository. So he works on the required file and then he checks in back the changes. They can update, synchronize their local repository, local copy periodically to stay updated with the changes made by other team members. So that is another very important feature, because whenever your development team is working, so there are 5 to 10 developers depending on the size of the team. There may be 50 or 100 developers working in a team. So you have a centralized repository, and then you check out all the code in your local system and in your local development environment, and you start developing different features on your computer. So since there are many number of developers working at the same time who are checking in their code in central repository always, so synchronization helps you to synchronize your local development environment with the central repository, so that you are always up to date with all the latest changes done by all the developers. So this helps whenever you are developing your code. So it helps that it makes sure that you are developing with the latest replica, latest copy of the central repository, latest changes made by any other developers. So you can synchronize your local copy with central repository periodically. That's another feature made by available in software configuration management tool. So beside these features, software configuration management also provide a lot more functionality like build management, auditing, reporting system, etc. So these are the core features provided by software configuration management tool, but there are many other features. For example, build management or release management, that is also provided. Audit trails are already there. Reporting is also there. So those are some other features that are provided by software configuration management. Then what are the implications of software configuration management for testing? So it allows testers to manage testware and test results using same configuration management mechanisms as used for source code. So testers can use same mechanism, same software configuration management mechanism to manage their testware, to manage the automation code that they have, to manage the other testware or test documents that are there in the team. For example, test plans, test strategy, test cases, etc. So they can use same concept for managing their testware. Then build process supported by configuration management is a reliable way of delivering builds in test environment. So you cannot just start testing based on the dates of the deployment. So there has to be some version controlling done for the builds that is deployed, against which the test team will start testing. So the build process supported by software configuration management tool is very reliable way to deliver builds in the test environment, because you have a fixed version of build against which you will be testing and raising the defects, and developers have a fixed kind of idea about what version they have released against which the defects are occurring, and then in which version those defects get fixed and again deployed. So this build process supported by software configuration management tools is very important for testing and development. Then it also helps us to map what is tested against which build. So SCM has the build process version control mechanism, which helps to map which test cases are executed against which build, what defects were found, which defects got fixed against which build, and are they verified with against those build or not. So all these kind of mapping is possible because of the build mechanism, build process or version control mechanism provided by software configuration management tool. So to conclude, in this session we learned about what is configuration management. Then we understood different features, very important features of software configuration management tools. So the most important features were concurrency management, version control, and synchronization. And then finally we understood the implications of software configuration management tools for testing. Thank you.